Hello everybody, welcome to another interview for DECT Today magazine and the DECT Forum YouTube channel. Well, today we're in the unified communications and professional audio marketplace, and I'm talking to Oliver Wittig of Snom. Oliver, can you get the conversation going by just telling us who you are and what you do at Snom?
Yeah, so I'm actually a long-standing member of the Snom family. So for almost no more than 2 decades by now.
Wow.
And what I'm doing currently, because you can imagine that the roles shifted all the time, what I'm doing currently is actually overlooking our DECT portfolio. And I specifically work with very large customer systems and let's say um, innovation is a hard word to say, but the more complicated deployments and where the customer request is not just a bit of audio and that's it. That's what I do. So let's call it a sort of professional service for product marketing.
Okay, well, let's talk a bit more about your company. What's the background to Snom and what areas of expertise does Snom operate in? What current markets are you looking after?
Yeah. No, as you heard, I mean, Snom exists for more than 2 decades. So when Snom started, voice over IP just started.
Mhm.
And even in Germany, we somehow saw that the old telephony is something of the past and we need to go into the new space. 20 years later, everyone does it all the time without knowing. So, but we focused on desktop phones in the early days. Yeah.
Yep.
So Snom is very well known for very, very reliable desktop phones which really understand the technology around the protocol and everything. And sometime later, a couple of years later, we understood that we cannot ignore mobility. I mean,
No.
that was way before the iPhone, of course, but still, yeah, we could not ignore mobility. And mobility at that time, the key fact was battery life and reliability. And there is a technology which exists for even longer than our company, and this is DECT. So that's when we actually moved into DECT with a full starting DECT digital SIP portfolio. And until today, we have this portfolio, let's say. We have desktop phones, we have full mobility based on DECT, mobility based on Wi-Fi, of course, we have headsets, everything around what you can imagine to give, let's say, a full industry or healthcare customer a full solution with devices.
Well,
That's what we
I know that Snom's been in the DECT marketplace for a long time. Can you explain why it is that Snom is such a strong advocate for DECT?
Yeah, I can actually easily tell. The easiest answer is it just works.
Well, that's always good to hear.
Yeah. And let's say that it's not a coincidence. It's such a proven technology. It's low battery consumption. Everything is included. Why even today when everyone screams Wi-Fi, why are we still a big DECT supporter? Simply because I know it works. Yeah, of course it's a parallel network. You have DECT, you have Wi-Fi because Wi-Fi exists. So
Of course.
you have to face that. At the end of the day, if you if you have a real solution to give, which lasts years and years without issues, I still believe the standard DECT thing, over the air, everything, is still the by far the easiest. I'm sorry.
Of
So
course.
um, that's why we still believe that. And needless to say, there are a lot of advances also in DECT technology. So it's not like the 35 years ago.
No.
It's still the baseline, of course, but in the meantime happened so much. And we as Snom, we also evolved a lot from a very simple office thing to a full-grown multi-cell for even for cities. Yeah. So all this came over the years, and when DECT became even more stable and more versatile.
Well, tell us a bit more then about what the portfolio of DECT products is that Snom's offering today.
Yeah, so we are actually preparing a launch now for a very specific portfolio again, because what we generally carry is we have single cell, so let's say typical office. Then we have a more ruggedized version for, let's say, for rough workspaces or for small industry. Then we have dual cell for a bit of bigger environment, and we have multi-cell, which scales up to, you name it, thousands of bases, which can even be used in small cities or administrations like we do. So let's say for every vertical, there is a niche product in DECT. So I focus mostly on healthcare. So healthcare for me means you have to have a multi-cell which spans over, let's say, a typical hospital is 5, 4, 7, 9 buildings with multiple floors, and the main doctors must be reachable at all time while walking, and they must be heard while walking. You can do that with other technologies, of course, but with DECT is built in.
Yeah.
So, and proven built in. So let's say this is my focus. So the big guys, yeah, hospitals in general, healthcare. But for example, what we just launched now is actually again operator phone. Very simple single cell. You can use at home or in small business or in a small shop or whatever with a decent handset. Why? Because it's super easy to manage by the operator.
Right.
So it's 100% manageable. It's very easy to deploy. It's zero touch. It's just powering up, and then your thing is registered. That's it. Yeah. So they don't have stress with it. And then on top, there's no discussion about I don't know if I go in another room I cannot hear anything. So the typical Wi-Fi thing. I have that at home. Yeah. I
Yeah.
cannot go far. So anyway, so let's say you would say, especially this product, everyone has it. It's very true, but they still demand it. So it's very interesting. There is a single cell, and the second one we also launched is a ruggedized, specialized single cell for workshops, for garages. Yeah.
Yep.
Super easy thing. Again, installation is a no-brainer, and you get a decent handset, which is really really rough. So, but let's say what I live for is actually that's the big systems, and this is healthcare and alarming and beacons.
Well, I was
Location.
just about to come on to beacons, Oliver. I've been reading up in the background and learning about the Snom M9B beacon gateway, which functions as a Bluetooth satellite that connects to a Snom M900 base station via a DECT data connection, and Snom's M9T beacon tags. What was Snom's thinking behind developing this technology?
Well, like I mentioned before, DECT is way too good. So let's say if you put one base in a typical, again, healthcare hospital environment, you can easily walk 30 meters into other rooms. Yeah. So, but hospitals especially, they have nurse calls, they have messages on the handsets to do something, to work on patient requests, and they also have emergency things. And if it comes to emergency, there's always the demand to know where the emergency actually happened. So the location.
Yeah.
And location, if people think about location, they think about small mannequin walking through a whatever virtual map, and then you can easily see where they are. That's not like this. What is really needed, for example, you go into a patient room, you see it's a super emergency. You press the alarm button, and then the alarm button via DECT notifies an alarm server where the issue happened. And now, why beacons? If it's DECT only, it's very hard to locate even the room because DECT reception is way too good. Maybe you know the floor, maybe
Yeah.
you know a rough area, something like that. But you can never definitely not say which bed, but you also have trouble to say which room. So that's where the beacon thing comes into play. We all use Bluetooth. We know Bluetooth is working in very low distance, let's say, very nicely. And if it's a couple of meters away, it gets terrible. So now combine that. You have a DECT which is huge, and you have the small one which is Bluetooth. So that means that you have Bluetooth precision inside the room, and that's what happens. And that's why we do it. And yeah, it took quite a while actually to get that into the market, but popularity, let's say, never stopped. People are just um, um, afraid how to use it. Another example, just a quick one. Yeah, you have a fab producing whatever things. You have very big machines in a huge typical factory hall. A factory hall to have telephony with DECT in a factory hall, sometimes it's really disturbing. You put 2 or 3 bases and then you cover the whole huge hall because DECT is so good. So, but what they need to know is when the worker, the lone worker, sits at his machine and actually has an emergency. Maybe his finger gets eaten or something like that. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. Well,
It happens.
unfortunately, things like this can happen. So an automatic alarm gets sent by the handset, and then again, we know the alarm, we know the hall, but we have no idea which machine. And then, very simple, we take one of our gateways near the machine, put it there, and then the handset will in the alarm will actually send the Bluetooth beacon. Our gateway recognizes this and sends that together with all the DECT information as additional location. So we can easily tell that was machine 12.
Well, this is fascinating. I mean, I can see how useful the technology is, not just useful, but vital in this type of situation. But how scalable is it? In other words, how many tags can coexist in the average implementation?
Yeah. Let's say per base, I would say it's safe to have something like 30 tags per base. In the industry context, we did one thing where we tracked pallets because material flow is a very hard thing to control. A
Mhm.
machine should never be still. Yeah, that's why the material flow should be tracked somehow. And we thought the people, they already have tech infrastructure, so why not give them the tech ability? And in this case, it's actually absolutely easy in a hall like this to follow up 100, 200, 300 pallets. It's no problem. Yeah. Um, uh, since it's a distributed system, so one single base manages 30. 10 for sure, 30, yeah, it's close, yeah, let's say. So, but you have multiple bases of those. So it's always hundreds at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, Interesting enough, the real heavy load beacon usage is not what people ask for. They ask for the emergency thing, which happens maybe, who knows, if you're really unlucky once a day
Mhm.
somewhere.
Mhm.
So not hundreds of different places and live tracking and everything. This is what people really ask for, and it's clear why. Yeah, because here, like you say, this is vital. Yeah.
Well, these beacons are cooperating in a quite a busy environment. Do the M900, M9B, and M9T sit comfortably alongside Bluetooth, Bluetooth LE, and Bluetooth beacon standards, iBeacon, AltBeacon, and Eddystone?
Why is that? We insist that we support all um, native standard beacon technologies.
Mm-hmm.
iBeacon, Eddystone, the Google one, the alternative beacon. But we insist that it has to be standard. So there's no extra bits, there's no extra fancy things which every almost every beacon vendor tries to do to log into his own environment.
Yep.
They can all turn that off, but you have to do that. So we insist it only has to be standard, and that's it. And standard means for us, first of all, compatibility is guaranteed.
Mm-hmm.
Standard is standard. But what is also important is that we also know how to filter that. Yeah, we can filter for beacon types, we can filter for beacon payloads, etc. So let's just take iBeacon.
Mm-hmm.
I guarantee you, if you do a beacon scanner now in your office, you will find 6 or 7 iBeacons easily. Yeah.
Yep.
And of course, I mean the sheer amount of that is huge. That's why you have to filter. And by focusing on standard beacon, no fancy extras, you can easily filter, and that's what we do. Yeah. And this is also it's transparent filtering. It's not Snom only, of course.
Well, standardization and compatibility are extraordinarily important in these environments. And I do know how tempting it is for some manufacturers to try to introduce proprietary elements, but really it's just complication the world doesn't need, isn't it? So this beaconing technology sounds very futuristic, but what's the state of readiness of these products? Are they already in the market?
It's actually it's years already.
Years, okay.
We kept it very, very low in marketing.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because the project itself needs consultancy. Consultancy, not necessarily paid consultancy. That's not the problem. But it needs consultancy that people understand what location in this environment really means, what precision they get, and why the precision is absolutely okay, even though it's not the moving guy over a virtual screen, because they never need that, but they always ask for that. Yeah. So that's why we kept that very low. There's one thing about our gateway which is absolutely unique. The gateway itself has a simple purpose. It just picks up the beacons nearby. Yeah. So everyone can do that, let's say. But this one is a DECT device. That means it acts like a multi-cell DECT device, meaning you can put that anywhere inside your whole area. So your hospital is huge. You take the thing and you know the location now, maybe for the next month, because there's something very important going on. We need to have a location at this specific station. You just take the thing, move it there, connect it to power, done. It's very unique. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we're very grateful that Snom has been an important contributor to the DECT forum for a long time, Oliver. But how can we do more to help? What can the DECT forum do for Snom and companies like Snom? And what do you think is the most important function of the DECT forum?
Yeah. So let's say DECT forum should not listen too much to the industry. They should also
Okay.
they should also have a let's say a free innovation path, and we actually see that. Yeah, just take your meshing thing and everything NR plus. NR plus is just such a huge step forward. That's why, of course, Snom is looking into that very, very actively. We will not replace mobiles, of course not, because it's not the aim. But we will have industry solutions based on DECT, which are driven by the forum, and which are not necessarily driven by the industry, because the industry goes just for what is the most popular and then just ship it. Yeah. So for me, the forum needs to stay as independent as possible, and simply drive things people don't even know if they need them yet. Yeah. Just use check NR plus, just look at it, look at the documentation, and then I mean it's really amazing what you can do, even though you know mobile is existing. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's very nice.
Well, Oliver, it's really good to hear a company as committed to DECT as yours is. It's also very interesting to hear that your company is actively looking at NR+, and who knows, the next time we're talking on one of these interviews, we may be talking about NR+ based products coming through the Snom pipeline. But for now, thanks so much. It's been really good. Looking forward to speaking to you again in the future.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks a lot. And also keep going for, that's how it should be. Thank you.
Will do. Bye-bye.